Okay, so I decided to go live while I am on my elliptical and share with you my misadventure of how the time I was almost stranded in Europe with my raising family. So, as you know, I am a donor conceived individual, and I found out late in my adult years, in my 30s, that I am donor conceived. And because of that, I've had to re experience all of the trauma that comes with being raised in a family you have been lied to from. Like, you've been lied your entire upbringing. And now you have to re experience all the times you knew in your heart and soul that you just didn't belong to these people, that you didn't belong to your father. You questioned every time you looked into his eyes if he was really your dad. I asked myself so many times, is this man, am I really his daughter? Because the way that he treated me was not that of a father. I was brought up in a church, a Christian evangelical church, since birth. And I identified very early on in my childhood that I didn't feel connected to my dad nor my mom because of the way that she treated me in her abuse, and all of her parenting. There was no way to attach to someone who beats on you regularly. You can't as a child. You try, you do love your parent, but there's like that bond. That bond was severed very early on. I had different caretakers. My mom had her sisters and her cousin take care of us growing up as children. So I had more like bonding time with my caregivers versus with my own mom. But I always knew that I was her daughter because when I looked into her eyes, I saw the genetic mirroring very early on, and especially as I got older, that same, when you look into your parents' eyes and you just know they're your parent because you look, like I have features of my mom that I saw early on that, I look like my mom. Even like, my body shape or my height is my mom. My dad, not so much. He's tall, different kind of features, round features. And then looking at my dad's side of the family, I saw that there was no genetic mirroring from my dad's side of the family. And that's part of the reason why I never felt like I fit in with my dad and his side of the family. And so I tried my hardest to fit in with that family. So my dad convinced me at a young age to play trumpet. So I was playing the brass instruments, the trumpet, the French horn, the cornet. Very early on, I was learning these instruments to please my dad, but I was never as skilled in the craft like my dad's side of the family, because I just feel like they're all musicians. Any instrument they pick up, they pick up the music gene, and they can play any instrument. But anyway, so that's just not me. It takes me a long time to learn an instrument. And so anyways, where am I going with this? So that's kind of how I grew up, and these are the things I talk to my own kids about, so I thought I would just come on here and share that So I'll talk about my misadventure now. I was in my teens, but over the age of 18, of course. We went to a Europe trip, and we visited several countries, like Zurich. Went to Zurich, Switzerland. We went to Germany, London, someplace, England. I think we visited more than London now. France. We saw the Eiffel Tower. And I could be missing some. So that's why I kind of made this like a part, a part one, because there'll be other parts to this live video. And I'm doing these live so I don't feel compelled to edit them. I don't want to edit my videos, and I kind of just want to keep them authentic and just have them as my little vlogs. And yeah, these are the things that us donor conceived people think about. This is my reality. This is my new reality I have to accept and come to terms. And I go to therapy to process all of this too, but it's a lot of inner work to be able to heal from a lie such as this and have to reorganize your thinking and restructure how you view your family dynamic, because you've been lied to for 32 years, 30 years. Oh my gosh, it's insane. It's traumatic to have to keep reliving your past and think about the times that you were truly hurt by these people. You allowed this man, this stranger that you've always felt was a stranger, and now you have proof that he really just wasn't your dad, like you had suspected it your whole entire life. And now it all adds up. This is the moment, like, that woke me up from the fog, okay? So, anyway, so we're on this Europe trip, and I may hear my kids coming through, so if that happens, I'll have to make the part 2. We're on this trip in Europe, and at this point, we're in Switzerland, Zurich. And after that, we have to take transportation, I think it was by train, to Germany. Anyway, so my passport ended up getting lost. And apparently, when we got to Germany, I discovered, hey, I asked my brother, do you have my passport? Because I don't have it on me. And he said, no, I only have my own. When in Switzerland, I should have double checked to see where my passport was. But, so anyways, fast forward to Germany. Now we're in Germany, and I'm worried that I don't have my passport, because now I can't leave Germany and I can't go back home without my passport. And the embassy or something was closed because it was the weekend, and it was coming close to a weekend. It could have been like Friday night when we got to Germany. I don't know, something like that, okay? I don't have, I wish I had a diary of when I did this little Europe tour. Anyways, it was scary. It really was scary. So I didn't have my passport. Now we're in Germany. So my parents called the front desk of the hotel in Zurich. I think my dad, contacts them. They said that they have it at the front desk. Interesting. So it's in Switzerland. And so he convinces them and coordinates with them that he's going to pay them for them to ship the passport from that hotel all the way to where we were staying in Germany, like overnighted. However, the shipping service doesn't overnight stuff over the weekend. So that meant my package was delayed. So, and then my mom and my brother end up going on through to their next destination, because we were staying only just a short number of days at each country that we visited. So my dad did the good thing did a good deed to not strand me by myself in Germany, waiting for my passport so that I could go home. He stayed with me. We stayed at a little local hotel, and we stayed in the same room at the hotel. And finally, after a few days, a couple days, it wasn't too long before my passport was delivered. So yay, then we had to make arrangements for flights anticipating using my passport to go home or to the next destination, whatever. But that was the moment that I felt so isolated and confused that, I definitely will, the story of me and going to Europe with my parents, and we went with several other friends, but that can't just be one part. It's gonna take me a while to get through all of the trauma of that trip. And oddly enough, ironically, all of the countries that we visited in Europe were all of the same countries that my sperm donor is from, which is quite interesting. And I almost think to myself that they did that on purpose, did they not? Did they know all the countries that my sperm donor was from and just decided to not disclose, and then took me on a trip to Europe? Sorry, if you see me leaning down, I'm drinking some water. So, all of the countries that I visited during that Europe trip were all the same countries that my donor's from, except for Italy. And that was something that was pointed out to me by my family. They had said to me, oh, we're going to go to these countries, and they listed out the countries we're going to, and then said, but we're not going to Italy, unfortunately. I'm so sorry. Italy's just not, like, timing wise and travel wise, it's not going to work out, because most of that trip to Europe was just traveling, and then we'd spend like 2 days at one place and then 2 days at another, and it was very get up and go type of vacation. And the whole time that I was on this vacation, I kept saying, like, I would much rather be on a cheaper vacation in like the Bahamas. Like, we don't have to spend all this money to go to Europe, because it was an expensive trip. It costs money to go out to eat in these European countries every single night. We didn't stay in little like Airbnbs, we stayed in hotels, so there was no way to cook yourself anything. Or sometimes we would get food from there was a few times that we got food from the street vendors at night, but during the day, during traveling, sometimes we get food to go, of course, because if we were traveling on a plane or a train to get to the next country, lots of bus riding. And this was in the years we didn't have an iPhone, and my phone didn't work in Europe. And so the only way I could communicate with my boyfriend back in the States was using payphones, and that was very minimal, because even getting money for each country to go out and walk to the payphone and make a phone call to your boyfriend. And it was a quick trip. It was only like 2 weeks. But I was almost stranded in Germany. I thought that was going to be my new, be my new home if I couldn't get my passport in the U.S., or at least my new home for several weeks, because the embassy was closed, or, I just couldn't. The circumstances were not in my favor. So I was really afraid. And it's so telling. It's very telling of how my parents treat me. My dad has some compassion for me, my raising dad. However, my mom has always been cold. I've always never felt accepted by her. If I were a mom, I think about this, because if I were a mom and my adult child were in a country, on a family vacation, and she accidentally left her passport, did all this and that, like, let's say, okay, I would not leave that country until the entire family, like me and my child, safely get the passport and we all go, because we're a family, we stick together. So I think about this. My raising dad did the right thing. There's some parts of that little topic right there of my raising dad and on that trip, what happened. That will have to be for a part 2. I'll explain a little bit more why that trip was such a pivotal moment in my life. And gosh, but all of these experiences that I'm sharing, it's traumatic. Like, I thought I could leave the past behind me, but now I'm questioning my entire childhood and all of the interactions I've had with these people that have been liars my entire life. Let me end this video with this. It takes a lot of courage to be able to ask the man in front of you that is raising you if you're really his daughter. Like, are you biologically my dad? So the times that I came up with the confidence and the strength, because I was beaten into submission, I was afraid of standing up for myself in my family. So asking my dad if he was really my dad was a big thing for me in my life, in my childhood. And he lied to me. He lied every single time that question was asked, because he knew I was donor conceived the day his wife told him she's pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm just not his. I'm not his. They went to a clinic more than once to have their children. I was their second one. So if they want to say that they just didn't know, they've already admitted that, yeah, they knew. They stopped lying 5 months into me getting my DNA test results. And that was a pivotal moment. Another PTSD core memory to add to the collection of trauma I've experienced with these people. But there are no laws protecting the people conceived through this means, through egg donation, embryo donation, and sperm donation. No one's telling us where we're coming from. No, other countries have passed laws to inform their donor-conceived individuals, citizens, of their conception at 16. And the US isn't even keeping track of how many lives a sperm donor or egg donor you can only donate so much, okay? It's an invasive procedure for women. But whatever, egg donation, okay. But the sperm donation too, like that's equally as concerning for both genders. But then you hear about these men who are going around, and I did a podcast with one of those types of donors, and they go around spreading their seed around the world. Of course, they call it donation, but it's a free vacation for them. And just making babies all around the world. It's not a good hobby. That's why we need more laws and legislation surrounding donor conception. I don't want to be lied to. I have rights. I should have more rights. I'm an unprotected donor-conceived person. No one handed me this information, so it then affected my child medically. Without saying too much in this video, so we don't go down that rabbit hole, but my child suffered needlessly because this information would have allowed doctors to realize the seriousness and not knowing my family medical history because I'm donor conceived. Hello? It's a big deal. My doctors now that I see are well aware of the seriousness of this issue. And they too agree that yes, tests need to be available for donor-conceived people to keep them healthier longer. My health is my wealth, and if I don't have 50% of my family medical history on my father's side, that's going to affect me. I'm a product of him. So anyways, that's where I'll leave it at. And when I get back on here and talk about my misadventures of almost being marooned in Europe, there'll be a part 2 coming. But this is just me rambling and kind of talking from the heart, and also getting some exercise in. Make sure to drink water, take care of yourself, eat healthy, get your 20 minutes of exercise. I see that I've been doing this for 23 minutes. I hit my goal. I'm now currently at 1.69 miles, but yeah, take care and have a good day.